Hello everybody, welcome back to another video. I'm hoping you guys are all having a fantastic day. So in today's video, as you can tell by the title, we'll be talking about a rather unique pattern that is going to be setting up across the United States. Now this pattern will obviously be impacting a good portion of the US, not everyone, but there's one specific area that I kind of want to focus on. So this and basically, this pattern that I'm referring to is, I'm just going to say it straight away, the monsoons and the record amount of moisture that could be across the Southwest. I really want to focus on this and talk about it because I find it really interesting how, a lot of, I guess we haven't had this sort of pattern across New Mexico and Arizona and Colorado and Utah and northern Mexico in a while. Now, this isn't always a good thing, and by the title you may think, oh, a rare pattern, this is going to be some sort of a weather extreme, and yes, it will be, obviously in terms of rainfall and moisture, but obviously these areas need a lot of rain. It's just that it will be falling at some pretty heavy rates, and that obviously could cause landslides, mudslides, maybe some flooding. For a lot of people, this is the Yellowstone floodings are still pretty fresh in memory. And if I take a look at the National Weather Service map, you can see that most of New Mexico, not even northern New Mexico, just New Mexico, the whole state of it, which is a pretty big state, is covered under a flood watch. This thing isn't necessarily for a particular time period of the day or the upcoming week. It looks as if this wet weather pattern will be continuing for a while. Notice that the current weather pattern is or current radar image does show quite a bit of precipitation occurring across especially southern New Mexico and also portions of Arizona and extreme western Texas and northern Mexico. That tonight you can see that they're talking about the probability of precip. Obviously, this is just for the Santa Fe office, so the further south you go, the stronger the probability. And this is the kind of more broad area of, I guess, a broad picture that shows us what could be happening in the coming weeks, or just more of a pattern base. And notice that what they're showing is heavy rain kind of moving from the southwest towards the northeast. That's what the orientation of the storms will be kind of doing. And you can see this is 48 hour, right? So this is through the next 48 hours. You can see there could be areas that pick up as much as 2 to 3 inches, which obviously in high elevated areas, this could cause landslides, mudslides, and of course a lot of these areas have certain burn scars, and that obviously the soil isn't held by anything, the vegetation was burned, so that further threatens the potential for obviously landslides, mudslides, and flooding and erosion of grand proportions, which I guess essentially is a mudslide. Notice that we have several areas that have a flood watch for Tuesday into Tuesday night, but there are some that have also a flood advisory, and that is kind of more imminent. And you can see that it's more, I guess, specific to what's going on now. Doppler radar indicated heavy rain due to thunderstorms moving slow and erratically around the Los Pinos mountains, and you can see up to an inch of rain has already fallen, and there could be up to another inch of rain. And that's the thing with these storms, that there isn't a great way to predict individual storm clusters. They are rather random, and as the National Weather Service described, they're erratic. Sometimes they may seemingly be moving towards the north and east, and then they kind of slow down, maybe move a bit towards the south before then retreating back to the northeast. It's random, and obviously while that whole storm is doing a little dance, kind of like almost like sometimes a tornado can do, just random directions. Just this time it's a storm as a whole. It's dropping heavy rain, very good amounts of it over areas that need it, but just not that much of it. And overall this could be a positive thing, but definitely there are negative things in the short term for the folks that are impacted by this. And notice that this is the next several hours, next 18 hours, and you can see that this stream just continues. This moisture just goes and goes and goes. And I can show you the NAM 12 cam. It shows us 84 hours out, so a bit further out. Notice Tuesday into Wednesday this continues. And this isn't just a 1 or 2 day event. There will be days that are more active than others, but you can see that by the weekend things start getting active again. And I want to focus on that because these areas made it seem like, right, if I clicked on one of these locations, the highest chances were now, but that's just because they're the most confident in it. But if you're to take a look at, say, Albuquerque, right, I think the largest city in New Mexico, you can see heavy rain, good threat into tonight, tomorrow night, and into Wednesday. But later on, the chances are smaller, but they're still there. And notice the extremely long range, right? I mean, 30, 30, 50, 50, 50. So the chances are there because the monsoon setup, right, the pattern, if you will be very prone to kind of continue this sort of, I guess, weather activity into the long range and even maybe beyond. So notice that into June, right? This is now what Saturday, late Friday could look like, spreading not even into New Mexico, but also northeastern Arizona, portions of Utah, Colorado. You can see these flare-ups during the day. Obviously, that one was a bit more extreme because there was a low pressure there helping that. But there are the smaller flare-ups every day, and you can see these are obviously, where the heavy rain is falling that could cause flooding and whatnot. But I'll just play this through. This is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. At this point, this is July 1st, it's July 2nd, so we are far out in time, and you can see that day after day, when it's, the late and evening, late afternoon, early evening, we see these flare-ups of storms, and, sometimes this could, obviously will be bringing quite a bit of rain, so this isn't necessarily the worst thing, as the West really does need a lot of rain. But again, I really, looking at some of these, rainfall totals, it's hard not to imagine that there will be some sort of a problem with flooding, flash floods, mudslides, landslides. And notice that across northern Mexico as well, right? I usually cover just the U.S., but northern Mexico will also be dealing with a lot of rain. They also have water shortages, so this will be helping out a bit. But again, this may be too much of a good thing at once. And, it's a fine balance. You don't want, like, a giant downpour randomly for, an absurd amount of time. You want the rain to come slowly, but unfortunately, that's really not how Mother Nature, I guess, wants it this time around. And this is the European model. You can see the next 84 hours, almost the whole state of New Mexico, excluding a few areas, are over half an inch to an inch of moisture, which again, if this was just a broad, gentle rain, that would be nice, but it probably won't. It will be falling, down in bursts. And in the long range, it just keeps piling on and on and on. And usually the peak of monsoons for this area isn't even June. It's usually July and into August. So I saw a cool graphic that they were showing here earlier. I do believe it was right here. You can see it showed that the historical average for the Southwest, I think this was specifically New Mexico, Albuquerque, but you could assume that there is some sort of a correlation with states surrounding. Just may have some time differences. It peaks at around anywhere from late July and before it starts falling into falling down late August, and we are in June, so historically these are still pretty low levels, and you can see that they are already, obviously way above what they're supposed to be, these dew point temperatures, which allows these monsoons to kind of or these rains to develop. So again, this will be providing some drought relief. A good portion of New Mexico is under exceptional droughts, which is pretty much 5 out of 5, the worst category of drought. But in the long term, not a bad thing, if you want to view it that way, right? But there definitely will be problems. There's just no way that there won't be, especially with such a, with so many burn scars, probably as many as ever before, and one of the most active monsoon seasons probably in the last 10-15 years maybe. And I want to show you some ensembles. So these go out very far and they give us a good average look at what many models think, so not just one. And the further I go, you can see that the green little spot here, which indicates a increased precipitation anomaly, so pretty much favoring rain, it stays there for a good while, and it doesn't really even diminish in color till very far out. But even then, it remains slightly green, and this is very far out, so it just makes sense for it to be a bit less confident. But yeah, we'll have to see. I don't think that this pattern will necessarily be breaking, at least in the next 15 days. Obviously, just because it's June and it's raining doesn't mean that August, when it's usually more rainy, will be rainier. It could dry out. There's no really consistency like of that sort. That would be nice if there was. But yeah, it's definitely an interesting pattern. And notice the European ensembles really showing much of the same deal. Yes, the greens, if you will, disappear a bit as further you go out, but so do the yellows, because it's just the models lose confidence and they start disagreeing more. But for the near term, just expect a lot of rain for these areas, which sounds good by itself, but as you saw on the radar, a lot of these storms are just erratic. They move slowly, they produce a lot of rain, and especially across again, elevated areas and whatnot, this is a concern. So you can see Las Cruces, right, Alamogordo, I'm trying my best here reading those. They are dealing with, again, flash flood watches. I see one flash flood warning there. It might have expired at this point. And You could see that the timing Monday through Wednesday, like the current active period, it will continue far beyond this. I mean, you could see that up to 2 inches and higher terrain might see 3. That would obviously be pretty bad, too much. And you could see debris flows, river rises, gusty winds near storm. Of course, you want to there could be some hail as well, some microbursts. And daily rounds of rain will increase potential for fast flooding, and that's just the main thing. So yeah, definitely interesting. How will this, I guess, impact the rest of the United States? Well, it will kind of prevent, I guess, a huge dome of heat from developing, because usually that warm air is driven from these areas, and when there's monsoons, cooler air usually resides. So the rest of the United States won't really be impacted by a overly, hot, I guess, pattern. There will be obviously days where it's hot, but let me show you this, right? You can see cooler temperatures. These get kind of pumped to the north. It's a changeable pattern that doesn't stay hot or cool for too long. You can see the southwest and the west may be a bit warmer at times, but the Midwest, you can see it's cooler. The Northeast, right there, you can see it heats up, but again, it doesn't stay hot for too long. So in terms of temperature anomalies, I would say that right now we are looking at maybe quite a bit of relief and I guess cooler weather for a good portion of the United States. In the extreme long range, it might start heating up again, but again, at this point, it's July, so any even moderate anomaly of temperatures is pretty significant, as that could cause some extreme heat as we are approaching the warmest time of the year. GFS, I want to show you the rest of the U.S. pattern. So again, here are the monsoons, but notice that across the north and east, we have this flow kind of from the northwest with these systems, cold fronts, showers, disturbances, and you can see that these will be continuing to go and push through into the medium to long range. So, I guess staying active for the rest of the United States as well, but again, that is the southwest is definitely taking the I guess the cake on its activity there, and you can see it's also pretty random, as it usually is during the summer and whatnot. Hopefully we could get a little bit some of this precip more towards the west, maybe towards areas like Nevada, Southern California, but these areas also do need it quite a bit, and Texas does as well. And it does seem that for now, at least, good portions of eastern Texas, a good portion of far western Texas, which are hit the hardest by drought, won't be seeing much from these monsoons. But again, it's a bit hard to predict these. We'll have to see. For now, that is basically it, guys. Thank you so much for watching. I'll catch you all in the next episode. See ya. Bye.